So anyway, this is the Neverwinter beta. This is the first beta weekend. For those of you who aren't aware of what it is, it's essentially a massively multiplayer online game that is free to play, being created by Cryptic Studios, which are the people who also created City of Heroes, Champions Online, and Star Trek Online. Neverwinter should ring a bell with a few of you, either being because you played the Neverwinter Nights role-playing game for PC, or because you're familiar with the D&D Forgotten Realms setting, which is basically what this game is. It's set in Forgotten Realms in 4th edition D&D, and is pretty much an action game. Not quite, as you noticed, I've kind of played a bit here. This is a level 20 cleric. There are 60 levels in the game, so it doesn't quite follow the D&D leveling system strictly. But then again, neither did D&D Online. And I lost my train of thought there. So anyway, it does, use some of the same Dungeons and Dragons terminology and some of the same statistics and other things to kind of give you that D&D flavor. But obviously they've heavily reworked a lot of stuff just so that it actually works well in an MMO setting. So with that being said, we will hop right into character creation. There is 2 shards right now for the beta. This is the first beta, so expect bugs, glitches, missing art, missing features, so on and so forth. So I'm not entirely sure what the shards denote because Champions Online and Star Trek Online both just have a single massive server. So I don't know if they're trying something different here or not. Anyway, here we are in the character creation, and we have several different races so far. We have your human, and they've got a little bit of flavor text down here, which I don't think I necessarily need to read. And every race has 3 racial bonuses. Now, none of these are negative. So if you remember, probably from some older editions of Dungeons and Dragons, some of the races would have some negatives to balance out their positives. This doesn't have any negatives at all. So, for example, if you remember, elves usually have a negative to their constitution. Well, in this game, they just have an increase to critical strike by 1%, 2 dex, and either 2 intelligence or 2 wisdom. And what is that? Chance to critical. No, that is a bug or something else. But both wild step and elven accuracy says increase their chance, but to critically strike by 1%. So obviously they've got, there are bugs. It's beta. They've a couple months from release, so there's lots of time to kind of polish it up and fix things. Then you have your half elves, your dwarfs, halfling, tiefling, and coming soon, which my best guess is going to be the drow, because they have actually announced the drow race. Obviously, the tiefling being kind of the new-ish race for 4th edition, being one of the base races. I do question the authenticity of Neverwinter because this game does not have 20 different varieties of elves. For those of you who play the tabletop, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, my cleric is actually an elf, so because I know I've got an idea of what class I want to do, I'm just going to go with the tiefling. These have Blood Hunt. You deal an additional 5% damage to targets below half health. You get +2 to Charisma, and then either +2 to Constitution or +2 to Intelligence. In Infernal Wrath, whenever you are hit, you have a 10% chance to lower the power of the attacker by 5% for 5 seconds. So we'll continue on to class selection. Now in the beta, there are only 3 available classes at the moment. You have your Trickster Rogue, your Devoted Cleric, and your Guardian Fighter. There are 2 other classes announced at this time, one of which is the Great Weapon Fighter, and the other is the Controller Wizard. because of their use of 2 words for each class. I'm going to imagine that they're going to have different varieties of wizards, clerics, rogues, and other D&D staples. And this time I'm going to go with a trickster rogue. And they get stealth, where you slip into the shadows, concealing yourself from enemies. You have combat advantage against targets that aren't aware of you. Lasts 10 seconds. Bait and switch. Jump backwards, dropping a decoy in your place. Any enemies that are near the decoy will attack it instead of you. Gain action points when the decoy is hit by an enemy. If you do it in stealth, it refills your stealth bar. And we'll get into what action points are. They're reusing the term here, so you'll see what that is in a bit. Bloodbath. Flash around the battlefield, jumping from target to target. As you pass through an enemy, they are slowed and are open to combat advantage. And Thievery. You can see and disarm traps, preventing you from taking damage or getting stuck. And that's actually a general skill. Every class has one, and that's relevant to dungeons or when you're out in the world. Not quite to the extent that D&D Online does it, but it's a nice little difference from just your basic. I'm having a hard time talking today, so my apologies. Different from your basic MMO. Now here they have, quote, re-rolling stats. Now these are not actually random. I actually sat here for a while on my cleric, keep hitting the re-roll button. Now you'll notice that the numbers aren't changing a whole lot, and in fact, this one seems to want to only change 3 of the stats between Dex, Wisdom, and Charisma. I will go ahead and take the 18 Dex and lower Wisdom. Although I wonder if that probably doesn't affect your traps detection skills. I'm not sure. The number here does include the +2 bonus. We've selected the +2 to Charisma and +2 Constitution as opposed to the Charisma and Intelligence. Just because, having a little bit of extra health is good. For the most part, they follow the spirit of the D&D stats rather than the absolute letter. So, while your stats here are expected for a rogue, each stat does additional things in MMO, just because it's an MMO. So this spread is probably going to be alright. 13 Strength, 12 Constitution, 18 Dex, 10 Int, 8 Wisdom, 15 Charisma. But the reroll just picks randomly from a table of pre-allocated stats, so you aren't completely random. You shouldn't ever end up in a case where you're completely screwed because you happen to roll bad. Onward! And here's where you can kind of first see that this is a Cryptic game, because there are a lot of character customization options. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to... Ones are really huge. I hope they got some smaller ones. But you can see that we've got a lot of options here. Let's see. This apparently did not have very many eye options or eyebrows. I guess because you have horns. Not too many horn options for this, apparently. Let's take a different... So, obviously, again, this is beta. Got some hair clipping across issues. That looks reasonably good. We've all got a bunch of tattoos if you want. Scars, and here's all your sliders for facial. Got a couple of predefined defaults, and then all your sliders for your body. So, I mean, that's good enough, and obviously, I'm not going to spend forever on a stream picking out things. This is also pretty interesting. This is where you pick your origin and your deity. So you'll notice several well-known cities or locations in Forgotten Realms, including Neverwinter, Waterdeep, Baldur's Baldur's Gate, Cormyr, etc. And each of these has between 4 to 2 or 2 to 4 origins. As far as I've been able to tell, these do not affect the game so far in any way, at least not as of my level 20 cleric. In fact, the UI that displays your origin is broken in that it shows origin here instead of your actual origin that you give it. Same thing with the deity. I haven't seen anything in particular that seems to affect. Doesn't mean it can't later, but at the moment it doesn't. Let's see, we'll just kind of pick something that looks thiefy. Oh, why not? Oh yeah, Flaming Fist Mercenary from Baldur's Gate. Our thief no, our thief doesn't want words. Dwarves? No. Nature? No. Martial prowess? Maybe? Law? Well, not for a thief, no. That one might be good. Saloon, because knight. Related. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Saloon. So it kind of gives you a summary. You can insert a biography. Again, that's just for role-playing purposes. The naming scheme seems to be identical to Champions Online and Star Trek Online in that your name only has to be unique on your account. And it can be identical to everybody else in the world because your account name, well, really your display name, which isn't your account name, is the only thing that needs to be unique. Let's see. What do we got? Lemur Slayer. Does that mean they kill monkeys? I'm probably mispronouncing that. And again, they're it's beta. They can add. Adding more names to their random generators certainly isn't particularly hard. Sure, why not? Maybe add Valor Fist. Alright, and we are in Neverwinter, and one thing I'm going to do real quick is I need to make a couple of basic tweaks. First off, where is it? There's a way to increase the size of... here we go. Font scale in the chat. It's really tiny at the resolution that I run at, so I'd like to bump that up a bit. The key bindings are actually pretty decent for people who play keyboard and mouse. Your power keys are set up on Q, E, R, left and right mouse button, tab 1 and 2. So they're all very much in the vicinity of the WSAD keys. Because I've got a Naga mouse, it's actually better for me to set them up on the numpad because, well, I can hit all of those with my thumb. So 1, 2, 3, left, right mouse. 1, 2, tray. Alright. So, we'll give kind of a quick, the game's going to give us kind of a quick overview of the UI as we go. You'll see that there's you might be able to see, the quality on the stream might not be high enough, but there's a slight glowing trail that leads to your quest objective. You can turn it off if you want. But it's similar to what shows up in Fable if you're playing that game. If you're going to stand around here and talk, I have no use for you, but if you can handle yourself in battle, well, that's another thing altogether. Ready to fight? Yes. Travel to the Sleeping Dragon Bridge. Melindra's undead are trying to force their way across the Sleeping Dragon Bridge. I was taking my troops to reinforce the militia on the bridge when undead charged out of the sewer and attacked. I can't leave this gate undefended, but the troops on the bridge won't last much longer without help. You look like you can handle yourself in combat. Take those militia near the gate and reinforce the bridge. Hurry! And you can see we'll get some experience points, some copper, and a weapon. That's better than our rusted dagger that we have equipped right now. So we do have mouse look. WSD to move, hitting F to talk to people. That'll be familiar to those of you that play Terra. And like Terra, you hit Alt to show your cursor. Those of you who have seen Siege of Neverwinter movies with concern. The gatehouse defenders have been cut off. We have to fight our way to them. The animation quality is a little iffy this early on. Not a huge fan of the walking animations. So, our first ability tied to left mouse button is Life Flourish. Basically just stab them in the face. Give a little more information. At will, melee range, 2-foot cylinder, 20 to 24 estimated damage. A distracting flourish of your blades deals damage to your target. So just basic attack. And of course you want to kind of keep your eye out because they do stuff like hide things in corners. So sometimes it's good to watch where the gold trail is going and go the other way. But those of you who play RPGs already do that. And you can hold down to keep attacking. There's no reason for you to constantly hit. And you're at willpowers, which are the, like this one here, do not have any sort of cooldown. Right click to use Cloud of Steel to hurl barrage of blades at your target. So this is our right mouse button at willpower. Cloud of Steel, 60-foot range, 6 to 7 estimated damage. Toss a barrage of blades at your target, doing medium damage. The longer you flurry a single target, the more damage Cloud of Steel will affect. It has a little 12 next to it, which I'm going to guess means it's going to count down by 1 every time we throw a knife. And every time we level up, they give us this nice little informational thing to tell us what we got. Click and see it in our overview here, which we'll go over later. Meantime, we're going to throw knives at people. Yep, so that counter went from 12 to 0 as I was throwing, and it is building up 1 charge every 3 seconds, looks like. So if you don't throw them all, you get them back. By the way, yes, if I run into fire, I will get set on fire and take damage. Telling us about dodging. We can do that either by tapping a direction, or we can hold a direction and tap shift. And that's because you don't want to stand with giant red glowy things. Hit F to loot on the ground. Dodging uses up your stamina, which is this angled green bar here above the kind of glass D20 basically dodge twice in a row before you need to wait for it to recharge. Or you can dodge once and, you know, recharge it a little and dodge again. Up to you. Or whatever the situation demands. And we have a new power. Dazing Strike. This is an encounter power, which means it's going to basically have cooldowns on it. This is a melee, 3-foot cylinder, 10-second cooldown, 73 to 86 estimated damage. Snap into the air, catching your opponent with a crushing blow to the head. The impact causes your opponent to be dazed for several seconds. If you're in stealth, activation time reduced by 50%. The gold and the light you can simply run over to pick up. Yes, I'm using mouse for combat. Left mouse button is main attack, is main at-will power. Right mouse button is your secondary at-will power. And then, because my mouse has a bunch of buttons on the side, I've got the rest of my attacks bound to the number keys. But by default, they're bound to Q, E, R, tab 1, and 2. So they're all clustered around your fingers. Unlike Terra, and more like the first-person combat of Star Trek Online, you cannot really use a ranged attack without actually having a target. And that target will follow the guy that you've used. So it's not completely freeform, but it's pretty close. Right. Level up again. Daily power, Bloodbath. This is daily, personal, 30-foot burst, 22 to 25 estimated damage. Flash around the battlefield, jumping from target to target. As you pass through an enemy, they are slowed and are open to combat advantage. Now, daily powers, fortunately, they do not actually once per day, like they are in the game, or in the tabletop. Essentially, they wait for the giant D20 here to fill up with, and that's action points. Now, once that's full, you can then use your one of your daily powers, and it will empty the entire die, and it'll start charging up again. What fills the die depends on the class. In this case, a Trickster Rogue gains action points by dealing damage. A Cleric will gain action points by dealing damage and by healing. So if you're just healing for a group or whatever, then you can still use your dailies. Leveling so far in the beta has been reasonably fast. That level 20 that I've got, I've really only played a couple hours last night and a few hours this morning, so it hasn't taken me too long to get that far. I mean, as you know, we're level 4, and we've just gotten out of the first little run. So, what do we got in our inventory? We have some unidentified boots. So we use a scroll of identification, and you can either double click on it and click on the boot, or you can right click on it and hit identify. It says Thief's Boots, which gives us +2 defense. And it requires Trickster Rogue. So the armor and the weapons are class specific. So we're going to equip that, and we have our new blades, so we're going to equip that. And then we're going to use the portal to get out. And now we're in Neverwinter proper. So I actually do really like the look of the game. It's stylized, but not really in the over-exaggerated look that World of Warcraft has, but also not the very fantastical look that some of the Eastern RPGs have. So I mean, I guess the best example is it's very Western RPG-ish in its styling, although he has some massive pauldrons. We lost a lot of good people today, and the Harbinger appearing so close to the walls does not bode well to the safety of the Enclave. Interrogate a thief named Honor. She is hiding out in the ruined building across from the Driftwood Tavern and Protector's Enclave. While we were busy fending off the undead attack, the Hall of Justice was robbed. The crown of Neverwinter was taken. Despite our best efforts, we haven't been able to recover the crown or determine who stole it. Our only lead is a small-time thief named Honor Ray. She's been bragging all about the city about being part of the big score. Maybe she had something to do with the theft. Honor's been seen coming and going from the ruined building across from the Driftwood Tavern. Find her and see what she knows. Now, I am reading out the text because they aren't voice acting it. There are a few people that do voice act in it, but it's rather spotty. So I imagine that they're going to end up having most, if not all, of the standard quests be voice acted. They just don't have them in the build right now. So we're going to get rid of our old stuff. He's a bounty guy, so mobs will occasionally drop specific bounty items, which you can then take to those guys to trade for items that they'll give you. And these are kind of like vistas from Guild Wars 2. They give you a nice little cinematic look of some part of the city. Yeah, got a quest here from Corporal Benton. Collect Luskan Ale, Sword Coast Brandy, and Waterdeep Sweetmeats at the market and deliver them to the Driftwood Tavern. Could you do me a big favor? I'm a quartermaster for the city guard. Our barracks was damaged in the attacks. The officer using the Driftwood Tavern as a temporary headquarters. I'm supposed to deliver provisions there for planning meeting, but the Lord Neverember just summoned me to go over some paperwork. The Protector hates to be kept waiting. Could you pick up the supplies from the market and deliver them for me? Here's a list. Just keep heading south. So we're still very much in the tutorial area. This is basically, hey, there are things in the world you can interact with and pick up, which also runs you kind of past the market area, so you know where you can buy and sell some things. Which I suppose to some extent is a pretty good lead into the business model that they're using for this game. It is free to play. The client does not cost any money, and there is no subscription. It does have an in-game marketplace. The in-game marketplace is not turned on yet. Pick up the Luskan Ale here. So it's hard to tell what they're actually going to be selling for their real money currency, which is Zen, which is the same currency for all the other Perfect World games. However, they also have kind of a secondary currency in the game called Astral Diamonds, which is the same type of currency they have in Champions Online and Star Trek Online. I know it's called Dilithium in Star Trek Online. I'm not sure what the Champions Online equivalent is. But with Astral Diamonds, you get them either in-game through various activities in the unrefined form, and then you can refine a certain amount per day. Or you can spend the Zen, the real money currency, to purchase them. Or if you have them, you can sell them for Zen. So essentially, you can trade them to and from the real money currency. So essentially, if you don't want to pay a dime to play the game, you don't have to. Go grind up a bunch of Astral Diamonds, sell them for Zen, and use it to buy whatever is locked with Zen. It does also mean that there are items in the game, and this includes items that improve your character, including getting faster mounts and actual equipment that cost Astral Diamonds. So it is possible for someone to purchase these items indirectly through cash by buying the diamonds via Zen. I have less of an issue with that because, you can earn the currency yourself. It's hard to tell exactly how efficient it is and how egregious it's going to be. My level 20 character has about 10,000 Astral Diamonds just getting to level 20. but the mechanisms I've found to get Astral Diamonds have been rather unreliable. And I don't know if that's either because they haven't finalized the mechanisms yet, or they're just buggy, or what. But anyway, so it's kind of hard for me to guess. And I say she has 10,000 now. As an example, to respec my character, it was about 200 Astral Diamonds. To get the second level of mount training, which is level 40, you need 750,000. So that'll give you kind of a ballpark. I've seen gear running for 40 to 50,000 diamonds. Of course, early beta, all prices subject to change. So, about time you got here. These soldiers upstairs are getting impatient. Please take those provisions upstairs to the room on the right. So, at least now you know where they're getting their money, and it's up to you if you like that method or not. 3 cheers for the hero of Sleeping Dragon Bridge. Hip hip hooray. Sorry for my little deception, but the soldiers you saved on the bridge wanted this to be a surprise. I want to thank you again on their behalf. Without your heroic actions on the bridge, many of these soldiers would not have survived. Now grab a tankard and share a drink with us. Unfortunately, you can't actually grab the tankards at the table. And that's kind of silly looking. So we will be off on our first real quest now. Anything you can interact with in the world will have these sparklies around it. So the white sparklies mean you can interact with it. The red, if it sparkles red, then you can't interact with it for potentially several different reasons. Maybe a lever opens and closes a door, or you need a specific skill. And we may see that as we get into these dungeons. That's pretty cool. Little ability. Teleporting up into the air and then dropping down. Here's a campsite. These appear periodically through the dungeon. They essentially act as checkpoints. They'll heal you when you're near them. I believe they've got some other features, but I'm blanking on what they are right now. Wouldn't surprise me if we eventually get a teleporting ability, basically, because this is a trickster rogue. Again, just keep your eyes open as you go through dungeons. I haven't seen anything quite on the level of D&D Online dungeons in terms of puzzle solving and complexity. For the most part, these have been action adventures. Mostly combat based and not a lot of puzzle solving. There has been a couple puzzles, but they've basically been the rotate all 3 statues in the same direction variety, which is not exactly mentally taxing. There are traps in the dungeons occasionally, which is, why my rogue has the ability to spot and disable them. You can still actually see them on other classes. My cleric can see them, but sometimes not until she's already triggered it, or when she's almost standing directly on top of it. Actually, I should see if that encounter one teleports me. Yeah, you see, you can't really dodge his arrow because it just follows you. Nope, it doesn't teleport. Alright, that's a little disappointing. I have not had any problem with my cleric with health potions. Partially because the cleric can heal herself, but I've got 60. I've got 50 to 60 of those things. So I suppose I should actually kill this person instead of shooting me. Yeah, here's an example. Requires dungeoneering skill to interact. Oh. Find a note in Honor's pocket. Honor, I got a lead in a big score in the Hall of Justice. If you want in, contact Grace Rathburn at the Seven Suns Caster Market. She can tell you which safe house we're at. Gothwin. So in that case, if we had the dungeoneering skill, which we don't, we could manipulate it and get at what appears to be a chest behind the door there. We have thievery, which does other things. And the treasure chest in the end pretty much always is basically what gives you your quest rewards and will always be something you can use, or at least equip. So we got a new dagger. Yeah, great fighter, devoted cleric, trickster rogue. Yep, get those boots. Alright, leveled up. What do we get? Bait and switch. Jump backwards, dropping a decoy in your place. Enemies are near the decoy will attack it instead of you. Gain action points when the decoy is hit by an enemy. So the action points are what fill up that D20 there. Refills your stealth bar if you're in stealth. Okay. And new Adventurer's Reward level 1, which gives us the Adventurer's Reward 2. Portable altar, 5 potions, minor healing. So every couple of levels you open a box that gives you just some neat little items. Mostly consumables. That's kind of interesting. Kind of neat looking. And of course you can use your dashes to travel a little faster. You first mount you get at level 20. You just buy that with straight up gold. And I had twice as much cash as I needed at that time, so there doesn't appear to be a problem with getting that. Time is money, I don't like wasting either one. Gothwin? Who told you I knew what Gothwin is? It wasn't Honor, was it? That... Look, I'm a bit in trouble at the moment. If you can help me out, I'll point you in Gothwin's direction. I know where Gothwin Cooper is. He tried to sell me some stolen gems the other day, but information is never free in Neverwinter, so I'll need you to do something for me before I tell you anything more. Yesterday, a gang of kobolds robbed my store and made off with a lot of jewelry. I was brave enough to follow them to that sewer drain across the street, but not brave enough to go in after them. So here's the deal. You get my stolen jewelry back, and I'll tell you where Gothwin is. Deal? Get some experience, some copper and silver and scavenger dagger. Just checking the time real quick. We got another 20 minutes or so before bumping up against the hour. Into the sewers, because you can't have an RPG without sewers. So, yep. New campsite unlocked there. The tooltip says swap powers, but as far as I've been able to tell, I can swap powers anytime. Aha! Trap spotted. I saw that from a lot farther away than my cleric ever did. And I can just disarm it. That's great. So yeah, if you want to avoid traps, get a rogue in your party. Hello, friend. Afraid you haven't caught me at my best. Stabbed, you see. Kobolds are nasty about little buggers. I represent one of Neverwinter's leading citizens. He discovered his place of business was burglarized during the night. The thieves made off with a little money and a lot of important business records. I was offered a fee to recover the stolen scrolls. Since I'm not fond of human waste, nor being stabbed, I am now offering you a portion of this fee. Once you've found the scrolls, take them to my associate. He's waiting for me just outside the sewer entrance. And apparently he couldn't walk another 3 feet to get the first scroll. Whatever. This looks like a good time to use this. That was cool looking. That was our daily. And of course it won't let us do interactions while we're in combat. Fortunately, you drop combat pretty quickly. It does suffer a little bit from Cryptic's vaulted ceilings. They like to have really tall ceilings to avoid the camera getting stuck on things. Probably not the best idea, considering they're just going to... Oh, they came down. Good. That makes me happy. It hit everybody it could. Let's take out that trap. Trick signs that pop above their head. That's cute. All these traps I never saw on my cleric. They do not appear to be giving me any experience for disarming them. Which I suppose makes some sense, since you don't necessarily want to give a lot of XP to a certain class in such a manner. I suppose they could give it to other classes if they got stabbed by the trap. Don't you learn experience when you get stabbed to not get stabbed again? Lever to open door. Again, not terribly but challenging mentally. Hey, more pressure plates. I'm probably not going to bother with them, because since I can see them, I can just walk around them. I mean, I suppose it might be an issue if I come running back down here again later. I don't think it will. I wonder, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, will they set off their own traps? Potion, even the little ones for fully free up way past what I need. I'm going to disarm these because they're going to be a problem. Scroll, treasure chest. Oh no, spider! Yeah, let's take the easy way out. I'm really liking that. ability. Basically stab everything. That decoy is really useful. Oh, come on. Other armor. Which is... we need to be 6 before we can equip that. Okay. And you'll note this particular item grants the nature skill. So there are items in the game, and these are reasonably cheap at vendors. They just cost a bit of copper. So that you can, if you want, you can stack up on them, or stock up on them, so that when you're in dungeons like this and you see something that requires a dungeoneering skill or something like that, then you can use that item and get whatever that's for. So you're not completely up the creek without a paddle if you don't have that particular class with you, unlike Dungeons & Dragons Online. Yes, I think I will equip that armor. That's quite a bit better. And humorously enough, the item that gives you dungeoneering skill is a 10-foot pole. I suppose you use it to poke things from a distance. Got a bit of an achievement there, though I have yet to figure out how to actually view said achievements. Wow, I should have moved. Charging ability. I do like how in this game the abilities really kind of have a good feel. Yeah, between the sound effects and the particle effects, they really feel like they hit something really hard, which I think really helps the combat, despite being not quite as action-based as some other MMOs. Certainly more action-based than, say, World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings, or even the original. Well, I say original but this isn't a sequel, even though or different from the Dungeons & Dragons Online. Yeah, I think I need to be using my dodge back decoy more so that I take less damage. I really shouldn't be taking all the damage that I'm taking. Does not appear to affect the ranged characters, but I wonder if that's a range because they're too far away or what have you. Move out of that. Jump motion. Stab his backy. He's the boss of the dungeon, which you can tell because his health bar is shown here up at the top of the screen. And jewelry. And get our quest reward. And we can't use it till level 6. Should be reasonably soon. We're level 5 now. Probably get it on turn in. You got the scrolls? Good, then I got your money. Body's gonna pull through, by the way, if you care. Kobold bugger popped one of his lungs. My jewelry, you found it. Since you came through for me, I'll hold up my end of the deal. Here's what I know. Gothwin Cooper is mixed up with the Nashers, a group of rebels that want to overthrow the Protector. He was trying to fence some goods he claimed he got on a big score. When Nox's men showed up and started asking questions, Gothwin got scared and fled to the Black Lake district. Guess he figured he would be safe there with all of his Nasher buddies. If you want to find him, that's where he'll be. And there's our level 6. If Gothwin's gone to Black Lake district, that's going to be trouble. Black Lake district is a mess. I'm not just talking about the sludge from the lake. The Nasher rebels are openly defying Lord Neverwinter's rule, and are attacking anyone who won't swear loyalty to their leader, Karzov. I hear Sergeant Knox already has some of his people there. I'd suggest you meet with Private Hothidian Failwind. If Gothwin is still in Black Lake, Hothidian will know about it. And let's... actually, before I do that, we can equip some of this stuff. So... let's see... extra damage, power, critical strike. Yeah, I'll take that. Level 7. That's not really that much better, so I'll probably sell that. Scavenge leather armor. Yep. Equip. The giant red box is because it's for a great weapon fighter, and they apparently don't have the earned assets in this build. So let's sell. Alrighty, to 11 silver already. And off we go to the first mission area. Those of you who are familiar with the tabletop RPG may be a little nostalgic with this particular map. This does show several locations, which I'm going to assume that you can eventually go to. It also doesn't show every location, because I've gone to some others throughout the course of getting to level 20, though I've still been in Neverwinter itself, that aren't shown on the map. So, looks to be a, reasonably sized game. Travel to the Black Lake District. Probably named because of its Black Lake.
Watch your step in this district. Black Lake is home only to the desperate and the deranged.
And here's where we get our first spat of voice acting. And then, of course, he doesn't voice act the next part. Well met. Name you Valor Fist, correct? I'm Hothidian Failwind, private of the service city of Neverwinter. Soldier in the squad of Sergeant Knox, finder of secrets, and hunter of criminals. I had not heard you were coming, but I look forward to working with you. Last I heard, Sergeant Knox sent you on the trail of one Gothwin Cooper. I have news of his whereabouts, but I fear it's not good. As you can see, we're leveling rather fast.
Our best hope for finding Karzov and the stolen crown lies with the Nasher Cutpurse Gothwin Cooper, who took part of the theft. I've marked a few of his known haunts on your map. Investigate those areas, and see if you can turn up some clue to where he may be hiding.
What do we got? Death Strike. Teleport behind your enemy and deliver a painful stab. In stealth, range increased to 80 feet and allows you to teleport to friendly targets. 60-foot range. So there's your teleport that I was asking about earlier. New task, learn to invoke the gods. Learn about invocation, a skill that you may use within any rest zone, such as an altar or a campfire. You should go see Felicia, an invoker who spent most of her time by the altar here in the Temple of Tyr. She can advise you how to invoke the power of the gods, and that's back in the district we just came from. So we should have enough time to kind of show that off. So we'll do that real quick before continuing on in that district there. In terms of playing with friends, there are 2 shards in the beta. I don't know if being in a particular shard means that you can't play with anybody in the other shard. I know that each of these areas are instanced, similar to the way, say, Guild Wars 1 works. And you can change instances with the button down here. So, at least to some extent, you know, they've got you separated out, you know, to avoid lag, as you would expect. So, and their chat system is the same as they've got with Star Trek Online and Champions Online, which means that your friends list is global across all 3 games, and you can chat with anyone in those 3 games via the chat system. Let's talk to Felicia here. So you wish to learn to invoke? Invocation is a powerful skill which you may use once an hour in any rest zone. A rest zone is an area of blessed ground radiating with the influence of the gods, like the ground around this altar. Whenever you invoke, you will receive gifts from your devotion. Try it now, and again every hour, whenever you can, in order to receive the favor of the gods. So we now have access to our devotion. Use it, and your ritual is complete. You are recognized, and the gods are amused. 1 celestial coin, 1 ardent coin, minor damage bonus, 1,500 rough astral diamonds, and 5 experience points. This is one of the ways that I found to get astral diamonds. You notice they're rough astral diamonds, which means we have to go into the inventory, go to wealth, and click on refine. You can refine 24,000 a day. So that turns them into astral diamonds, which you can then use to buy things. And that's to kind of avoid people grinding out a ton and then, you know, flooding the economy with astral diamonds, so they can put a little bit of a limit on it. And then you have this interface, which allows you to buy things with those tokens that you got. This I'm unsure about, honestly. You have these yellow tokens here, which you gather up. Despite these hours I put into my cleric, I have not gotten any additional yellow tokens. This invocation mechanic, seems rather unreliable. I don't know if it's broken or they just haven't balanced it, but the first time seems to be the biggest, and then you get diminishing returns, but I haven't figured out how often it resets yet. Rumor has it's a day, but my cleric didn't reset overnight, so maybe 24 hours from when you first invoke. And then you have the blue tokens, which are different for different particular things, and this I'm a little wary of, simply because if you notice, max is 7, and you will lose all your celestial tokens in 5 hours and 58 minutes unless you invoke the gods again. It is unclear if this is in-game time or out-of-game time. I was poking around and I bought one of these in my cleric, and I haven't got another one to test with yet. So, And this is actually kind of conflicts with the tooltip here, which says gain a celestial coin the first time you use your invocation skill on a given day. Celestial coins, like the gods themselves, have a fleeting form. Must be renewed daily to persist in the mortal world. They will be lost if you fail to invoke within 24 hours. Because that says 24 hours, and then it immediately after that says you have 5 hours, 57 minutes left. Well, you just saw I did invocation, and it's, yeah, I only have 6 hours rather than 24. So, kind of confusing, potentially bugged. I really hope it isn't 6 in-world hours, because asking your players to log in every 6 hours in order to keep gaining or prevent them from losing their currency is, well, you're just asking for trouble. I mean, people need to sleep. And if you're only getting 1 coin a day, you know, and you want that celestial coffer, I don't necessarily know how, you know, what it particularly contains or how good it is. A generous sum of astral diamonds. You want a generous sum of astral diamonds, you gotta log in every 6 hours for a week. It seems very questionable. So either that's 6 hours of in-game time, which I would find perfectly acceptable because, or I should say playtime, not in-game time, because, you know, you just have to invoke every 6 hours that you're playing the game. Okay, sure, whatever. I invoke a lot more often than that. If it's out of game time, that's going to be a problem. So, unfortunately, Cryptic has been rather cryptic about that. And if you've played Star Trek Online and Champions Online, you know that their help and tooltips are far from clear. But that's about an hour, so I'm going to get a drink, and I'm going to cycle the stream here, and then we will head out into the next area to continue. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and we'll be back in a little bit. Thank you for watching.